Welcome once again to SoCo Chat, a podcast where we hear directly from county leaders, discuss the latest news, and talk about all things concerning our beautiful corner of California known as Sonoma County.
Welcome back to SoCo Chat. I'm your host, Matt Brown, Deputy Communications Manager for the County of Sonoma. Thank you for joining us. Well, as we record this episode, the federal government remains shut down. On November 1st, the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, which in California is known as CalFresh, ran out of funding. Here in Sonoma County, this program provides an average of $300 per month to some 27,000 families to help with the cost of groceries. Even though a lawsuit has compelled the administration to partially distribute food assistance, that funding will still be significantly delayed, meaning that many people will not have the money they rely on to feed their families. Fortunately, in Sonoma County, we have a safety net for this sort of scenario. The Redwood Empire Food Bank and its network of 130 nonprofits and faith-based partners serves the equivalent of 28 million meals to 142,000 individuals per year across Northern California. Their mission is to end hunger in the community. In the current shutdown, and with a general decrease in federal funding for food assistance, the food bank has seen a tremendous surge in demand. Here to talk about how they combat food insecurity is the CEO of Redwood Empire Food Bank, Allison Goodwin. Allison, thank you so much for joining SoCo Chat.
Sure. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, well, we appreciate it. I know this is a very challenging time for people working on food insecurity. Let's start with the immediate need in the community, right? As we said, that's the replacement of these CalFresh benefits that many people rely on as a lifeline. This week, the Sonoma County Board of Supervisors approved giving the food bank up to $1 million to help offset the cost of the increased demand. So tell us about that increased demand that you're hearing from the community, and how are you responding?
So we are trying to be as nimble as possible, which is really what we do throughout the year, and even more so during what feels like an urgent surge and a response that's required to meet the current need. We're really looking at data daily. So normally we're saying, okay, what did last month look like? And we're planning from a food inventory standpoint, how many people are turning to us for help. But honestly, since the last week in October and into November, we're looking at things daily because things are changing that quickly. We're really seeing a swing of anywhere from a 17% increase to a 33% increase at distribution sites among our partner network. So we're really just saying to people, continue to communicate with us, both internally as at the staff level, but also through our partner network to say all these people that are being impacted, they're not all showing up on the same day. It could be that some are still new into relationship with us. They've never relied on us before because they had their SNAP CalFresh benefits available to them. And so it's really being mindful that some people are turning to us for the very first time and others are saying, okay, so I typically come a couple times a month and now I'm going to need to come a little bit more frequently to get by.
Yeah. So that response then from you guys, are you providing more food or having more sites, or are you seeing longer lines out there? What's that like?
So luckily we have a really strong infrastructure. So direct service is what we call the fact that we have 300 distributions throughout the month. A lot of those are weekly. Some are a couple times a month in affordable housing sites, community centers, kind and welcoming parking lots, just places to be accessible to people, schools. So we have, within that infrastructure, we have a volunteer workforce. We have staff present that are bilingual, bicultural, super helpful and kind. So we haven't needed to stand up additional distribution sites per se to meet the need. It's just saying how much more food are we sending at some of those locations. We did with county data. They shared with us the people that are enrolled in CalFresh and where they are located. So we have tried our best to say, you can go anywhere that we offer food assistance, but these are the sites with greatest capacity. So try these if you're concerned about how long it might take or different parts of the county. The reality, though, is that the people that are reliant on CalFresh, they're everywhere.
Yeah.
So there wasn't an exact formula to say, okay, perfect. So all of them or most of them are in this particular zip code or this particular part of the community. And so they're all just going to go here. they're everywhere. And so we've tried to be as nimble as possible to say, choose a place that's most convenient for you, for them to go to, and we'll just do our best to respond. So that's kind of what we're doing is we're increasing food everywhere, which feels like the responsible thing to do, but really tricky when it comes to moment, data and response is that it's not that we're seeing just a surge at a site. It's really a little bit of everywhere.
Sure. So what should somebody do that who relies on CalFresh benefits and has them delayed, or maybe they only get partial or no funding this month? What do you recommend that those people do?
I recommend that they come to us for food assistance. That's what we're here for this moment and really ongoing. So SNAP benefits, by the name of the program, it's supplemental. So there is no reason why anybody, even with full benefits, couldn't or shouldn't access the Redwood Empire Food Bank simultaneously. What we provide is supplemental. SNAP is supplemental. Even if they have children in school and they're offered free breakfast and lunch, all of that is supplemental. There's no risk to them in accessing us in addition to their SNAP and CalFresh benefits. That's what we're here for. So even if they've never been to us before and that feels overwhelming, I promise we're very kind. We're very welcoming. We're there to help them. And so they can call ahead of time if they want to kind of pre-register and have somebody answer their questions. They can go onto our website to learn more, or they can show up. So whatever makes them the most comfortable, we want them to know that we're there for them.
That's great. So that's the current crisis, which is the government shutdown. We assume hopefully that'll be resolved at some point in the near future. But this comes at a time when food banks like yours are already seeing decreased shipments from the federal government, a decrease in food assistance. Can you explain what you started seeing around April?
Yes. So back in April, there's a program that's run through the Emergency Food Assistance Program. The funds were discretionary. So really the federal government through the Biden administration had chosen with those CCC Commodity Corp funds that would be spent on food. So that was milk and eggs and frozen protein that food banks across the country were seeing. And the Trump administration decided, we're not going to use those discretionary funds for food anymore. What those funds are being used for, to be honest, I'm not sure, but we just saw canceled truckloads of food beginning in April. So the truckloads that were canceled were about $750,000 worth of food, and that would have provided us food assistance for April, May, and June. The more stark reality is up until that point for that fiscal year, it was over $2 million worth of food. So going into this fiscal year, we knew as the Redwood Empire Food Bank, like, oh goodness, okay, so we're not likely going to see that food come back, and whatever administrative costs that would have come, are also ours to eat as well, because we're not getting food and funding that we were last year and in the previous handful of years. Meanwhile, the need has stayed elevated. And so we did know going into this year that we were probably going to be reaching out to the community a little more urgently, just to say, help us, because we're not an organization that is used to asking for help. Of course, if people choose to donate, time and money and food, we always welcome that. But we even knew going into this holiday season, we were going to be saying, so we have more of an urgent need. And that was prior to the government shutdown. And that was prior to people's SNAP benefits being disrupted. So we really are saying to the community, we absolutely want to be there for people and will be, but we could use their help. So if they're willing and able to help us with, time, money, and food, we absolutely welcome that.
Yeah, absolutely. And we definitely want to get into that, how people can help. But these are sort of crises that are ongoing or current. Now let's look ahead to an upcoming crisis that we know is coming, which is the passage of the federal budget bill. There's that budget bill is going to contain some decrease in food assistance funding, new work requirements for people on food assistance. Can you tell us about these changes that are looming on the horizon, and what that will mean for the demand for direct food aid?
We're assuming it means that, again, more people will be turning to us for help. And some of the same people might come to us more frequently. So we know right now that the average is people come 2.5 times per month. They can come, more than that. That's just how often they choose to go grocery shopping, as it were. So we anticipate that even if the number of unique people does not exponentially go up, we think it will go up, but it might just be that some of the same people are relying on us more frequently than they needed to before. In terms of health, I can't imagine there isn't anybody who doesn't understand the connection between food and health. So we want the community to know that we focus on a bounty of fresh produce and healthy food. We're not handing out cheesecakes and, things that people can't otherwise appreciate and create a meal with. And so whether those people are saying, I still need to maintain a healthy body, we want them to turn to us for help. Again, that's what we're there for. Although it won't surprise me if we too are continuing with the same message of, how can people help support? Because, it won't likely come in the form of support from the federal government to food banks to fill in that gap.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, there's an added layer to the food insecurity for members of our immigrant community, which is the fear of increased immigration enforcement. I assume you don't ask for immigration status at your distribution sites?
We do not.
Yeah.
We do not.
Do you have protocols for dealing with if immigration shows up to a distribution site? And if you're someone who is worried about your immigration status and don't want to be out in public, is there a way they can still access food, your food aid?
Yeah. So first and foremost, we've always had what we call a proxy system. And so anybody can always give permission for a family member, friend, relative, neighbor to pick up on their behalf.
Okay.
That helps in the case of people being concerned about immigration, but it existed prior to that. So there's plenty of people that say, well, I'm otherwise at work at that time, or I have a medical appointment. Can my sister-in-law pick up for me? Of course. So once people are connected with us, they can just list the people that they want to be able to pick up for them. They don't have to tell us in advance that that's what's happening each time. They just sort of register them to their profile, as it were, and say, oh yeah, I'd like to give permission for this person to pick up for me. So if somebody's concerned about immigration status, we don't say like, well, who is it that's picking up for you and why? They just give us the name of who that person is. They're welcome to come and pick up on their behalf. We do ask that the registered client is the one that gives that permission. So we do encourage them to contact us and say, this is who I am, but I'd like to give permission, for my neighbor to pick up for me, just to ensure that those that are the intended audience of that food are the ones that are getting the groceries. In terms of our protocols for how we respond, should, there be some sort of law enforcement that shows up to our distribution sites, we can't naively say to the community that we have any sort of authority over the public spaces that we're in, or the fact that we could really defer any sort of activity. However, we're not treating that activity any differently than any other disruption. So oftentimes we're just the guest of the parking lot. We're the guest of the school. We're the guest of, the Santa Rosa Veterans Memorial Building, whatever the case may be. So we are public facing. We can't necessarily control if somebody walks up and is choosing to be disruptive, but our staff, we've certainly had conversations to say, how do we make sure that our staff is supported to call, somebody even like myself to say, can we get some help at the site because we have a request being made to speak to people, or a request being made to, talk to somebody about their immigration status. So our goal is not to be disruptive, but our goal is to keep, our staff and community safe, and in the context of food distribution, that's what our focus is getting them their groceries and not necessarily engaging in any law enforcement activities, quite honestly.
Yeah. Well, talk a little bit about the nexus between food insecurity and the need for other important things like healthcare, housing. There seems to be cracks appearing in the social safety net, especially around federal when it comes to federal funding. So how are these cracks in the social safety net impacted the demand for your services?
Well, I will say hunger is invisible. And so the idea that we can see, sometimes we can see if somebody's unhoused, for example, that the community can see that. You're not seeing if a parent is hungry as they drive to work because they prioritized, getting their kids something to eat that morning and not feeding themselves, or if a senior is saying, I can't hardly afford to feed myself, let alone my pet, and so I'm sharing whatever food I have with them. So I think that any conversations that are happening in our community about somebody who is otherwise struggling with something, they are likely struggling with food as well. So if there's somebody listening that says, yeah, I do really important work and we're focused on housing, or we're focused on the immigrant community, or we're focused on farm workers, or also think of us and how can we partner and how can we engage? Because I think what we do know is that when anybody's struggling with their health, if they're struggling with their mental health, if they're struggling with social services and falling through these important safety net programs, they are likely also hungry.
Yeah, and hunger and food is a essential. I mean, obviously for survival. So it's one of the basic essentials. So
Right.
you're providing such an important service for people. Well, let's take a little pause of talking about this doom and gloom and all these looming threats. I want to hear more about the great work that Redwood Empire Food Bank is doing every day. You have various programs maybe you can talk about. You feed school children, you feed seniors in need, and then there's the Neighborhood Hunger Network. Can you talk about those 3 programs?
Sure. So it's just our way to let the community know it's basically everybody who needs us, but putting things into buckets so people can understand. Again, if they're looking for help, they understand how to access us. So we're in preschools, we're in schools, elementary, middle, and high schools. We partner with the Santa Rosa Junior College and Sonoma State for their pantries. So we really like to think that we're available for people of all ages. We have a senior basket program, which is focused on seniors over 60. We partner with senior centers and affordable housing sites. And the Neighborhood Hunger Network is also known as everybody else. So if they're not specifically with families with children that they're picking up from school, or somebody over 60, of course, we're still there for them. Of course, our region is Sonoma all the way to the Oregon border. Because we're physically located here, our real responsibility is close to home. Most of our food and most of our programming is right here in Sonoma County, but we do support an entire partner network all the way to the Oregon border.
Wow. How can someone who needs that food assistance now connect with you? How do they find a food distribution site or a place to access that food?
So on our website, in the top right corner, we have a button that says Get Food.
What's the website?
refb.org. And they can put in their zip code or city. They can change the radius. They can choose buy food today. Or if they say, I know I don't work, on Tuesdays, I'd like to see everything available on Tuesday. It can be overwhelming. So again, people can call us. They can ask for help. We have a lot of community partners and 211. They can help people navigate how to look at that website, because we have a lot of distribution. So it can be overwhelming for somebody for the first time to say, oh, golly, okay, so I just need to know where I can go get food. And it might produce, 12 different locations for them to go to with just one simple search. So they can do it from a phone, they can do it from a computer, or again, they can call us. There's also text food or text the word comida. And all of that is on our website. So
Okay.
if they find their way to refb.org, then it should give them a whole host of ways to learn what we do and how we do it.
And the
and how
number to text is on the website.
It is.
Okay.
It is.
Great, good. What about someone listening right now who wants to help out? Do you need food donations? Do you need volunteers? Do you need money? What's the best way for someone to contribute?
So the most impactful way is a monetary donation. And I say that not because it's an easy answer, but because we truly can, for every dollar, we can support $3 worth of food. So because we serve so many people and have such a robust pantry network, we order food by the truckload. And so the more bang for our buck than somebody who says, well, gosh, I'll go to the grocery store and I'll buy food and donate that. Of course, people can do that too. So some people say, well, this is wildly convenient while I'm at, Oliver's or Rayleigh's or wherever they do their shopping, they could pick up an extra peanut butter and put it in a barrel. Of course, that's helping with food security as well. So I would say first and foremost is monetary donations. We do offer food drives. Sometimes people want to do their own food drive. They can go onto our website and find all the collateral and advertising that they can run their own. And then, of course, we have, larger partnerships with grocery stores predominantly where people can drop off food.
And volunteers, are you still looking for volunteers?
We do. We're always looking for volunteers. This hasn't created a huge surge in need because, again, back to that infrastructure, we have amazing distribution site volunteers that, they're there in crummy weather and they're there in hot weather and they're there in these dark mornings and late evenings. And so we have all of those shifts available on our website for distributions. We have warehouse shifts where people can come, directly to our physical location. We have farm volunteer shifts, and then we have kitchen volunteer shifts. So somebody, if they find their way, again, to our website, there's a button that is volunteer, and they would find all the shifts that we have available.
I say that website name again?
refb.org.
Great. Well, Allison, I just wanted to kind of give you a chance to add anything that we forgot to talk about, anything you wanted to add as we're getting into the holidays when we are, people are sitting down to Thanksgiving and Christmas meals and other people may not have those types of meals. Anything else you want to add?
Really just for anybody that's listening, again, it depends on their role. If they need us, we're here for them. If they're feeling really grateful that they have a warm home and cooked meal and family, that they can give generously. So no gift is too small. Some people choose to sign up for a monthly gift and they say, I'm going to give $20 a month or $50 a month. And then others say, oh gosh, this is the year to take advantage of tax breaks. And I'm going to give whatever I can, because it's the end of the calendar year and they're benefiting from that. So again, we're eager to partner with organizations that are trying to meet the need, and partner with a community that can, afford to help us. So thank you so much for having me.
Well, thank you so much for being here, Allison. And thank you for the important and essential work that you and Redwood Empire Food Bank are doing in the community. We really appreciate that. And to our listeners, if you have comments about this or any segment or have a suggestion for a topic for a future SoCo Chat discussion, please email us at publicaffairs@sonomacounty.gov. Thank you all, and we hope you continue to follow SoCo Chat on Spotify, Apple Music, Amazon, and of course, YouTube. Thanks again, Allison.
Thank you.